You're standing in a crowded room. Music is playing. People are laughing all around you, and yet you feel completely alone. That feeling makes no sense. There are dozens of people within arm's reach. But your brain is telling you something different. It's telling you that you are isolated. Why would evolution build a brain that lies to you like that? The truth is, it isn't lying. It's measuring something you can't see. For most of human history, you didn't survive alone. Your ancestors lived in small bands of maybe 50 to 150 people. Everyone knew your name. Everyone knew your role. If you got sick, someone noticed. If you were in danger, someone came. The anthropologist Robin Dunbar studied this number closely. He found that humans have cognitive limits on how many stable relationships we can actually maintain, somewhere around 150 people. Not acquaintances, not faces you recognize. Real relationships with real obligation and real trust. Now think about that crowded room again. 100 strangers can stand next to you. But if none of them are inside your circle of 150, your ancient brain doesn't register safety. It registers absence. You are surrounded by bodies, but not by bonds. And your nervous system was built to tell the difference. This is where it gets stranger. Loneliness isn't just an emotion. It's an alarm system. The psychologist John Cacioppo spent decades studying loneliness at the University of Chicago. He found that the feeling of isolation triggers the same biological stress response as physical danger. Cortisol rises. Sleep gets lighter. Immune function drops. Your body responds to social disconnection the way it would respond to a predator in the grass. Why would your body do that? Because for most of your species' existence, isolation was a death sentence. A human alone on the savannah didn't last long. No one to watch your back at night. No one to help you carry food, fight off a threat, or raise a child. Loneliness evolved as a warning, a red flag waving inside your chest saying, "Get back to the group, or you will not make it." That warning system worked perfectly for 200,000 years. And then, almost overnight, everything around it changed. You now live in cities of millions. You can scroll past 1,000 faces before breakfast. You can text 50 people before lunch. But none of that satisfies the ancient alarm. Because the alarm was never counting faces. It was counting depth. The sociologist Robert Putnam documented this shift in striking detail. He tracked a steady decline in the kind of face-to-face community involvement that once defined daily life. Shared meals, local clubs, repeated contact with the same people over years. He found this had been quietly disappearing for decades, replaced by faster, thinner, more disposable forms of contact. Here's the strange part. You can have more social contact than any human in history and still feel the ancient alarm ringing. Think about your phone for a second. How many notifications did you get today? How many of those were from someone who would show up at your door if you needed help at 3 in the morning? That gap is the whole story. Your brain isn't built to recognize a like, a follow, or a group chat as belonging. It's built to recognize eye contact, shared meals, repeated presence over time, vulnerability, offered and returned. Those are the signals your nervous system was designed to search for. And in a world full of fast, shallow contact, those signals are getting harder to find. So the crowded room isn't confusing you. It's telling you something true. It's telling you that quantity was never the currency your brain accepts. Depth was always the currency. There's a twist to this story though, because loneliness isn't only a warning about isolation, it's also a warning about mismatch. You could be married, employed, surrounded by coworkers and family, and still feel it. Cacioppo's research found that loneliness has almost nothing to do with how many people are around you. It has everything to do with how many of those people actually see you. Your ancient circuitry isn't asking how many humans are nearby. It's asking how many of these humans would notice if I disappeared. That's a haunting question, but it's also the most honest one your body ever asks you. Consider this. Ancient humans didn't need self-help books to feel connected. They didn't need to try. Connection was structural. You woke up next to the same people every day. You ate the same fire. You solved the same problems together. Belonging wasn't a feeling you chased. It was a fact of your environment. Today, belonging has to be built on purpose. It doesn't happen automatically anymore. Cities don't require it. Jobs don't require it. Apps actively replace it with something thinner and easier, something that feels like contact without ever quite becoming it. So what do you do with an alarm system built for tribes of 150 now living in a world of millions of strangers? You feed it what it was built for. Not more contact, deeper contact, a repeated face, a shared meal, more than once, a conversation where you say something true and someone stays anyway. Dunbar's research suggests something almost comforting here. You don't need 150 deep bonds to feel safe. You need a handful. Historically, the innermost circle of real intimacy in a human life was estimated at somewhere around 5 people. 5 faces your ancient brain would trust with everything. Do you know who your 5 are? Most people can't answer that quickly. And that hesitation is worth sitting with. Because if you can't name them, your alarm system already knows. So the next time you're standing in a crowded room, feeling strangely alone, don't fight the feeling. Don't assume something is wrong with you. Your body isn't malfunctioning. It's running code that is 200,000 years old. Code that once kept your ancestors alive by demanding real bonds instead of passing contact. The room isn't the problem. The lie was never in your feelings. The lie was believing that being near people is the same as being known by them. You're standing in a crowded room, and for the first time, the loneliness isn't confusing anymore. It's a message, arriving right on time from the oldest part of you, asking gently who actually knows you're here.